Communication requires this success, because if it is not successful, then we cannot say that it is a complete communication process. It also involves understanding that the difference of via multiple mediums that these days we are using, such as face-to-face interactions, telephonic conversations, digital communications, such as email and social media interactions. And since all of us are in this situation where we lock down and we are, kind of stuck in our homes, and social media interactions or emails or the digital platforms are the only ways we are able to communicate these days. Now, that brings us to the question, everyone in the world is perpetually communicating, but is everyone successful in their communication? So in other words, if I put it, all of us are exchanging information all the time. Either, say, a mother and a daughter talking on the phone, a student asking a question to a teacher over an email, or say random people speaking to each other, like, two random people who meet because one of them is new in the city and he or she asks for directions. Or all of you, when you leave a comment on your friend's Facebook post, etc., etc. All this is trying to communicate. But is everyone successfully communicating? The answer sadly would be no. So that brings us to our second question. Then what do we understand by effective communication? So effective communication is being able to clearly convey a message and understand the emotions and intentions behind the information that was passed from one person to another. To listen in a way that gains the full meaning of what's being said and makes the other person feel heard and understood is also a part of effective communication. So it has to happen on two levels. If I say something and all your participants are not able to understand exactly the way that I'm trying to convey it to you, then I would say that it was not an effective communication that happened here today. Then it's also important to understand that what makes communication ineffective. Now, after understanding what's effective, it's important we know what are the don'ts. Communication is said to fail or become ineffective when the receiver does not understand the message as intended by the sender. Like I already said, if I'm trying to convey to you what communication is and I'm not able to do it, then that would be an ineffective or a failed communication. Now, there are various reasons for a failed or an ineffective communication. It can be, stress, out of control emotion, like sometimes you're trying to convey something to your friend or wife or a husband or a kid, and you go all berserk and, you just don't know how to convey. And later, you end up saying that, oh, I didn't mean to say this. This is what I meant. Now, that was a very, very common example of failed communication. Sometimes we use wrong body language, tonality, etc. So these can be different reasons where communication fails. Communication failure is a message that is unintentionally misleading, ineffective, or even offensive sometimes. Sometimes it's poor choice of words, or lack of specific message, or from the other side, maybe it's not the failure from the side of the speaker, but it's the failure from the side of the listener because they fail to listen clearly. Or sometimes you choose the incorrect medium to convey that message. Now, communication also has a very important aspect where you choose the right medium to communicate. For example, communicating in person about serious professional matters like layoff, that means if you're firing someone, you're firing an employee, or if there is, say, change in salary, etc., like serious topics. Now, those are the times where just sending an email is very inappropriate. And what would be appropriate is meeting that person face to face. But of course, in today's scenario, we've all adapted, and face to face is not really a possibility. So maybe stick to digital. So we have to understand that communication tends to be amongst the most complex endeavors due to the complexities of social thought processes and mutual languages involved. Hence, there is a lot of ineffective communication happening all around. Now, having understood what the importance of effective or ineffective communication is, let's talk about one of the very predominant factors of effective and ineffective communication. And the answer would be soft skills, just as depicted in this slide. Soft skills like communication skills, job interview, time management, presentation, and many more, which we would be discussing today in details going forward. Now, let's try and understand what soft skills are. Now, this has become an overused term in modern day. I totally agree. But in the simplest possible words, soft skills are personality traits and behaviors. They are behaviors each one of us displays in different situations. Soft skills are absolutely non-technical skills that each one of us possesses. Soft skills are personal attributes that influence how well you can work or interact with others. These are multifaceted. Soft skills are transferable from one job to another, which means that if you join one job, that does not mean that your soft skills will finish there. Changing your job and going to a different industry, you take those soft skills with you, so they're transferable. That is the reason sometimes it's commonly known as people skills, social skills, and sometimes even called transferable skills. So as the term implies, these skills are less specialized, less rooted in specific vocations, and more aligned with the general disposition and personality of a candidate. Soft skills relate to your attitude and intuitions. Soft skills are less about qualifications and more personality driven. Most of the soft skills you possess are not taught to you, but are natural results of your emotional intelligence and experience. But having said that, I would say that soft skills are still something that you can train and learn, but it takes generally longer time to do that. So soft skills can be broadly categorized under three headings: personality traits, interpersonal, and creative and critical thinking. Now, all the known soft skills cannot really be strictly put under these three broad headings, since they significantly overlap on each other, which we will talk about later as well. But I would just want to list out a few very common soft skills that possibly everyone should and everyone has been using. That would be emotional intelligence, language skills, written, oral, and now I would say digital as well. Adaptability, empathy, and teamwork, just to name a few. So moving on. My next question is that how are soft skills different from the skills we learn through formal education then? The skills that we learn in schools and colleges are called hard skills or technical skills. Now, hard skills are the technical skills that are teachable and measurable. Example, the credentials and the experience that you acquire when you go to school and college in your field of expertise. like coding or data analysis, literature, marketing, etc., etc. Now, unlike soft skills, hard skills are easy to teach and quantify. Hard skills make you eligible and great at a specific job, whereas soft skills prove that you would be a great fit in every job and in your personal life and relations as well. Normally, you can acquire hard skills in a classroom, in an online course, or through books and other materials, or even on the job sometimes. Hard skills are definitely essential to acquire. There is no doubt about that. But the truth is that the demand for soft skills has been growing ever since, if not before, at least from 1980. A study by LinkedIn actually suggests that 57% of employers value soft skills more than hard skills because they believe that the work that an employee needs to do can be taught.
Hello.
How they do it, it totally depends on a particular individual and their soft skills. Now, this brings us to the question, why are soft skills essential? Soft skills are essential because they complement hard or technical skills. So technical skills are not enough to bring out your best in a job. All careers require soft skills to utilize technical expertise at the right time and place. It's great you are going to schools, colleges, learning technical skills, hard skills, but this means that if you support it with the right set of soft skills, you can excel at any job that you enter into. There is no denying the fact that technical skills cannot be utilized successfully without having comprehensive interpersonal skills. That's the underlying fact. Say, for example, let's take an example of a dentist. Now, what is a dentist supposed to do? A dentist is supposed to be very good at his or her work. Say, filling cavities. So there's a dentist who is great at his work of filling cavities and taking care of your teeth. But if he or she also treats you with a personal touch and remembers your name whenever you go to see them for your treatment, and very patiently answers all your questions, since all of us do not have the technical skill of a doctor or a dentist, we do have a lot of questions. And not every doctor can answer it well. But this doctor does a great job at, that empathy, where they realize that my patient does not know so many things about the technical skills of dentistry, so I should explain those things very well to them. So he patiently hears you out and answers those questions. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to check. Asha ma'am, am I still connected?
Yes,
ma'am, you are connected.
Okay, because I just saw that message from you. Okay, nevertheless. So we were talking about the dentist. So this dentist is extremely good in both hard skills and soft skills, and he or she is someone that you can trust them for making the best decision, keeping your well-being in mind as well. So you are more likely to go to them versus another dentist who is equally good at his work, but treats you like a number in a long line of cavity-filled mouths, like just another patient. So this is where we say that hard skills and technical skills need the support of great soft skills as well. Okay. So the next important point is that workplaces today are interpersonal. It's not like earlier times, you just go, do your work, come back, and there is no connection that you have with anyone or you're not interdependent. Strong soft skills ensure a productive, collaborative, and healthy work environment. All crucial attributes for organizations in an increasingly competitive world, just like what we are in these days. So effective sharpening of soft skills is important to foster a culture of knowledge sharing, presentation of ideas comprehensively, active listening, and team building. These are the fundamental ingredients of workplaces in the modern world. So this would be helpful even in creating interpersonal and competitive workplaces. It provides an edge over others. So if you have it, it gives you an edge over others who do not have those soft skills. So hard skills can be learned in a limited time, but these skills are harder. The soft skills are harder and they take longer to develop since they're on the nature rather than the knowledge level that you can just acquire from somewhere. So having these skills can help you deal with challenges in the workplace better than those people who do not possess this. So I would say having soft skills is an advantage that you would have over other people who do not have soft skills. Ensure customer retention. Now, soft skill will help you retain clients or customers irrespective of the industry you're working in. So if you're a doctor, making sure that your patients keep coming back to you is retaining clients. If you own a store or a shop, the customers coming back to you is also retention. Sometimes it happens that we go to a store, we don't like the way people deal with us. Maybe they were rude, maybe they were not understanding, maybe they were not able to give you enough time or that personalized approach. So you say, okay, next time, I don't think so, I want to go to that store. Maybe go to their competitive store, right? Or even a teacher. A teacher would probably be more famous or popular among students if he or she has those soft skills versus someone, you know, about some teacher you say that, oh, she or he is a great teacher, they have great knowledge about the subject, but I don't like the way they treat us in the class. So again, for any client retention, soft skills are the key. Now, the next point would be for your personal development. It's critical for your personal development, for relationship building, for creating trust and dependability. So basically, it's a key to getting things done. You want people to listen to you. You want people to give you what you like, the way you like it, as an employer, as a friend, as a teacher, as a student. You will get things done if you deal in the right way. So outside the office also, I would say soft skills such as communication are used to build friendships and meet potential partners. You might be negotiating, say, the price of your house renovation or even mentoring your neighbor's children on the weekend. The soft skills are useful both in our professional and personal lives. Any professional who does not have the soft skills of emotional intelligence, trustworthiness, approachability is not likely to be very highly regarded either by their employers or clients. So in a broader view, we can say that soft skills are exceptionally critical for success in one's personal life and workplace. Now, in spite of all that we said, that how essential they are and why do we need them, I feel that soft skills are not valued as much in many parts of the world. In fact, I would say that soft skills are not valued in India as much. I agree that the trend is changing. Job industry in India is seeing the value, but unfortunately, soft skills are still not becoming the integral part of our formal education system. Before I moved to Canada, I was heading a corporate skills department in New Delhi Institute of Management in Delhi. And we made sure that academic subjects and soft skill training was interwoven to ensure a more enriching MBA experience for our students while ensuring that the students were creative, adaptable, and resilient in their future studies and work. This not only narrowed down the gap of our students whenever they got placed and they moved to the corporate world, the transition became really smooth for them because they were ready, they were prepared, not just with the hard skills, but we made sure that we also support them with the soft skills. But this also gave a very big advantage, and that was that there was 100% placement. All our students were placed from the campus into all great corporate industry. Furthermore, we would like to share that an Accenture report highlighted concerns from the IT industry in particular that most of the technical graduates they see these days are not work ready. That means they're not ready for the job industry. The life skill gap isn't confined just to India, mind it. Gaps in soft skills are holding back business and academic graduates, research everywhere. In fact, a McKinsey study found out that 60% of employers worldwide think that graduates are not suitably skilled for the workplaces. In the US, Bloomberg researchers found that 1 in 3 bosses and nearly half of the academic institutions believe that the new entrants, that means all the recruits, those who are all ready to jump into the job industry, they don't have the soft skills needed to perform at a high level. And due to these challenges, I would say specifically India and then specifically Punjabis face in terms of increasing rate of unemployment, deteriorating environment and lifestyle, health and education quality dropping low. That's where people like you and I'm among them. We all decide to migrate to the first world countries. But our issues happen when this gap is further highlighted when we move to the countries where soft skills are considered essential versus from the countries that we come from and we are not even aware that we need those soft skills. So when we reach or when we migrate to countries like these, say US or Canada or Australia, that's when we realize that why are we so different, or why do we feel that the job industry is so different from what we were expecting. Moving on. So once people move to a new country as immigrants, they face a lot of challenges, both socially and professionally. And I would just like to introduce a few of those challenges, which I have personally seen, and I have personally lived some of them as well, being an immigrant and relatively a new immigrant since we moved here just about 2 years back, still in that learning process. Okay. So I would say for the students specifically, students who take admissions in colleges and universities here in these countries, I see that the fitting in is a very difficult process. I see students who take these admissions, they are struggling in classes. In spite of the fact that they manage to get IELTS band 6 or 7 or sometimes even higher, but they're still not able to relate. One reason for that is because teachers and fellow students are native speakers. Nobody here expects you or students to, acquire a North American or a Canadian or an American accent when you land here. Having a neutral accent never poses a problem. But the communication skills, they need to be strong enough that you are capable of understanding the native accent, which includes their colloquial vocabulary and expressions, and without feeling lost. That is a big challenge for all our students who are planning to come and take admissions here. Another challenge I would say is becoming an integral part of the local native community. Now, immigrants have to take that plunge and try to blend into the society as opposed to staying away, not mingling and not becoming a part of the local society. It keeps them away from all the opportunities that they can have for self-development. Another challenge that I see is adaptability towards new culture and society. I totally understand. I'm living that. A new country, a new language, new people, new culture. It's not an easy change, and it poses a big, big challenge for all of us. And then when we talk about the job industry, missed job opportunities, and career progression, which is not as quick as one expects it to be. Tapping the right job industry, first deciding which industry do I need to enter? Where do I need to get more technical skills once you reach a new country? First, a big step is deciding, tapping the right job industry, and finding a job, and then moving up in the career graph would be another challenge. Those are the few professional challenges that immigrants face. Having said all of that, in spite of those challenges, in 2019, India was the leading country of origin of international migrants of 17.5 million. And I was myself surprised when I got that data. And you would believe it, but out of this entire 17.5 million migrants, the diasporic population of almost 10 million was that from Punjab. So what makes immigrants so desirable? Well, one big reason is that immigrants bring valuable technical skills with them. Skilled workers are getting harder to find in these countries, and Indians are best known for their technical skills. For example, over 51% of recent immigrants have a university degree as compared to only 20% of Canadian-born. Another very important reason: immigrants help improve any country's economy. Without immigration to prop up the population growth, it's unlikely that the Western countries would be able to maintain the level of economic growth. In addition to providing more manpower, new immigrants also add to any country's total purchasing power. More people with money to spend means more demand for the local goods and services. Of course, the immigrants bring a lot of diversity and inclusion. And multiculturalism and diversity have become a part of any first world country where immigration is demanded. And especially, it's become a part of Canada's brand now. Today, the importance of diversity is ingrained in Canadian psyche. It shapes how Canada is viewed around the world and by Canadians themselves. Young people in particular, the millennials and the Gen Z, as we call them, who tend to be more liberal and active in social causes, they view Canada's diversity as the selling point. Now that, in turn, attracts a higher caliber of young talent to Canada. Well, of course, immigrants bring fresh perspective, which is highly valued in any country they go to. A very important reason that students are especially seen as welcome immigrants is because they help sustain the universities. Now, it's very interesting that the private universities here have become self-sufficient. Why have they become self-sufficient is thanks to all the international students who take admission there. Because the international student pays almost 3 times as any local student would pay for the same course in the same university. But yes, that's one way where how immigrants can come into and settle into a country at an earlier stage, which is definitely more acceptable. Now, since Canada has been most welcoming to the potential immigrants and a large number of immigrants are moving here under the skills category, workers category, it's easy to get the PR. That's not the difficult bit. If you have a master's degree or even a bachelor's degree and 3 years of work experience, you can easily get a PR. And of course, if you're young, it becomes even more easy. But then the question is, what do immigrants who land in Canada bring with them? And I would say majority immigrants arrive with tremendous technical or hard skills, but unfortunately with minimal soft skills. Now, we have all heard familiar stories of how highly skilled, internationally trained professionals are wasting time in low-wage survival jobs, like driving a cab, security, working in restaurants, etc. That's because of the discrepancy in the Canadian job market requirement and what immigrants bring with them. The critical need of filling technical jobs is very evident in the liberal Canadian immigration policy. So they have technical jobs available for immigrants, but the immigrants are not able to tap that job industry because soft skills are lacking. So it's critical to find the right balance. That means the right mix of soft skills and hard skills according to the requirements of every job and job industry is imperative. And unfortunately, this is something the immigrants lack right now. So moving on to my next slide. Now, what happens when once the immigrant, in spite of facing all the challenges that they have for getting a PR or admission, after all that, once they land here and then they start looking for a job. Now, once they land here, one of the phrases that the immigrants hear the most is Canadian experience. Now, what does that mean? It in fact has two-dimensional meaning. One, what the immigrants are told. Now, they are told when they're rejected for a job, they're told that you have not worked in Canada, so you can't get the job. But what they really mean, what the recruiters really mean is a polite way of saying that immigrants don't understand the Canadian culture. Now, Canadian work industry demands this. It's a ground reality that the job industry prefers an immigrant with tremendous hard skills to get acquainted with the Canadian life and culture working in, say, a Starbucks or Tim Hortons for the first 2 years, so they are culturally sensitized and they acquire the soft skills in the process. That's because Canadians believe in conserving their culture and values, and they would not want the immigrants to affect that social fabric, which they have tried to conserve and preserve for years and years now. Now, why is that? Why is there this discrepancy? Because the nuances of the Canadian society and work culture can be difficult for immigrants to understand and adapt. There are many nuances of every society. So when people come from different societies, the nuances of a new culture can be different and difficult to adapt. Like in the North American culture, small talk, or the kind of local native phrases that everybody uses, or the specific business jargon. All that is very specific to every culture and society. and then it becomes a challenge for a newcomer to adapt it very quickly. So, one very popular way that I would like to talk right now is gaining experience by volunteering. Now, this is one thing which is very typical to the North American culture. It helps the immigrants to gain new skills and experience in the process, and they learn about the new culture as well. Of course, volunteers don't get paid for any of these services, but there's an immense learning, and that's why it's considered very important. So when people come here and they try to look for jobs, sometimes the recruiters suggest the new immigrants that instead of looking for a job directly, they should actually go places where they can volunteer. You can volunteer as a teacher you can volunteer in NGOs, with all kind of work, and also in your own job industry, your field of expertise, wherever you have the technical skills, you can go to those offering volunteering service in the same skills. So it's like doing a job, of course, not getting paid for it, I understand, but then you are getting acquainted, and it is also considered a part of Canadian experience. And you can put it in your resume as volunteering as well. Now, hence, due to all these challenges and the reasons that why immigrants are not able to grab the right job, they're not able to adapt themselves to the new culture and become a part of the society, it would be a best option for all the potential immigrants to prepare themselves for the soft landing by becoming more equipped beforehand. And since all of them, or most of them, already have very strong technical skills, if they work on learning and practicing the fundamental soft skills at least, it would be a win-win situation for the new immigrants. So let's see a few of those imperative soft skills. Communication skills is the cardinal skill for all potential immigrants. There is no way to reject that, or there is no way that you can devalue the status of communication skills. Communication skills are needed to speak appropriately with a wide variety of people while maintaining good eye contact, demonstrate a varied vocabulary, and tailor your language to your audience. Listen effectively, present your ideas appropriately, write clearly and concisely, and work well in a group. It comprises of the following sub-skills. Let's start with verbal communication. Verbal communication means communication in the form of spoken words, ideally only. But in the context of communication skills, verbal communication can be both in spoken and written form. So communication in which we actually use words. Comprehensive listening. Now this is a very important skill. How well you listen has a major impact on your job effectiveness and on the quality of the relationships with others as well. So it's important both for your professional and personal life again. Comprehensive listening is an interpretation of the words and ideas, and it involves understanding the thoughts, ideas, and the message itself. So the type of listening requires that the listener understands the language and vocabulary. For instance, we listen to obtain information, we listen to understand, we listen for enjoyment, and we listen to learn. Next, let's talk about nonverbal cues. So in nonverbal communication, messages are relayed without the transmission of words. So we do not use words, it's nonverbal. Nonverbal cues include all the communication between people that do not have direct, verbal translation. That can be body movements, body orientation, nuances of the voice, facial expressions, details of the dress, choice and movement of objects that communicate. And so it supplements with gestures, body language, symbols, and expressions. Be aware of individual differences for nonverbal cues, extremely important. People from different countries and cultures tend to use different nonverbal communication gestures. So it's important to take age, culture, religion, gender, and emotional state also into account when reading body language signals from another person. Now, another important thing, important sub-skill I would say, is small talk. Small talk is an informal type of discourse that does not cover any functional topics as such. It's a kind of conversation you make when you want to talk to someone, but neither of you wants to get into a very deep or complicated conversation. Hence the word small, because you talk about say unimportant or superficial topics. And also, you do not talk for very long. It's a short talk as well. So it's just a way to fill up the silences, the odd silences sometimes when you don't know, or should I say something? What should I say? So those are the small talks, and there are different topics that are considered appropriate for small talks. I would be talking more on the practical aspect of it in the second session, which is going to be a little more interactive. So we'll take a little more on soft skills in the second session. Okay, let's go to the next, another desirable soft skill, which is called showing initiative. Now this means that you don't just sit around and wait until someone gives you a task or tells you what to do, how much to do, when to do. But you play an active role in every project. May that be personal, may that be professional, but you own it up. It's like, it's finding your own role and thinking ahead rather than just waiting for people to tell you at every step what you need to do. The sub-skills for this would be, the first one would be problem solving. Now this is an ability to recognize difficulties or complications, right? Generating alternative solutions, evaluating, and then selecting the best alternative and implementing the selected solution. And not just implementing and forgetting it there, but also following up to make sure that whatever solution you have implemented, it has been successful. Problem-solving skill refers to the ability to solve problems in an effective and timely manner without any impediments. So typical problem-solving competency-based questions, you can be asked during interviews. And so many times these kind of questions are asked. It can be that, share with us an example of a time when you ran into a problem on a project. What did you do? Or give me an example of a difficult problem you had to face outside of your work. So problem solving can be both for professional and personal situations as well. And they are equally important to deal with. The second would be ability to deal with change. This is an ability to respond quickly to changing ideas, responsibilities, expectations, trends, strategies, and other processes at work. The ongoing scenario, I would say, is the best example. All of us were adapting to this new way of life, changes because of the pandemic. We are emerging happier and more satisfied, as opposed to people who are not ready for that change and they're not rapidly adapting to this new world and are complaining more, I would say. So next would be people handling skills. This is the process of training, motivating, and directing employees in order to optimize workplace productivity and promote professional growth. Let's move to our next soft skill, and that would be work ethic. Good work ethic is a reflection on your work style. It's about how well you are working in the kind of situation that you're put and your consistent ability to perform. It can open up myriad opportunities and will play a key role in the successes you experience throughout your career. The sub-skills for work ethics would be punctuality. Now, this is something that the Western world is very touchy about. It's considered highly significant in the Western world. It's about respecting people and time and other people's time as well. It's about coming to work on time, joining meeting on time, meeting the deadline sometime, and even when you're having a personal get-together or you're going visiting someone, even a 15 minutes delay is considered very rude and disrespectful to the other person. Next, let's talk about time management. Time management, like I said earlier, it kind of overlaps punctuality and time management. But time management is more about the whole process of planning and exercising a conscious control of time that you spend, your decision, a choice you make, that the time that you spend on every activity, specific activities, exercising increased effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. So if you're making the right choices to decide how much time are you spending on a particular thing, you become a little more efficient in how you proceed, and it kind of adds to your work ethic. And the next we have focused and organized are also extremely beneficial skills, which should be very, very importantly taken into your own soft skills, learning and development. I would not take too much time on this because I think they are quite self-explanatory. Okay, so moving on, let's go to our next slide. And the next soft skill we would talk about is another advantageous one. We call it conflict resolution and negotiation. This is used when two people have a similar objective in mind. So the goal that you're reaching is same, you and your partner. Sometimes it's even in your homes, a husband or a wife, or even a child and a parent. So your objective or your goal is the same, but the conflict happens when both people have a conflict on how to reach that objective. Now that's the kind of conflict that we have to learn to quell and ensure that the objective is met. The sub-skills that we'll be talking about here is being a team player. Now being a team player, like we all know, the term comes from the sports players, but team players are not the only people who play on sport teams, but they're also people who work in organizations in colleges or schools together. So a team player is basically a person who plays or works well as a member of a team or a group. Teams in organizations need strong team players to perform well and reach their goals. Empathy, collaboration, to be able to work with others even if you don't always see eye to eye. Now, we cannot be friendly or we can't always like everybody, but keeping your own personal likes and dislikes or differences away and still working as a team is very important. And very important aspect is giving due credit to all your team members for their contribution, and these would be some of the key characteristics of being a team player. Next would be open to different ideas. Being open-minded is generally seen as a great asset both in personal and professional life. That would mean that you're being receptive to new and different ideas, even if they're different from what you think is right or wrong. So if you're open-minded, you are better to become a person who can negotiate better, and you can resolve conflicts in a better way than people who are close-minded. Create mutually beneficial relations. Now for this, you need to establish common ground, read the people, and be very, very genuine. Do what you can to create a positive experience when meeting with people, and you will have mutually beneficial relations throughout your career. And this is a very crucial part of conflict resolution. Let's talk about our next point, which is open to constructive criticism. Again, a very, very crucial soft skill, I would say. Now, if you cannot handle critique every once in a while working on a job in the job industry, it would be a very tough challenge. However, understanding the feedback you receive and how it can inform improvements and in your future work can be a very powerful thing. Now, we cannot always be thinking that what we do is the best and then we do not need to change it or make it better. If we think that, then we are definitely lacking a lot of soft skills, not just this one. Okay? So this means that being open to opinions and ideas that may differ from your own. So instead of trying to justify your actions or blame someone else or something else, carefully listen to what is being said and take immediate action to change so that the negative feedback that you're getting at a particular time changes into the positive one in the near future. Moving on. Like I've been saying, for all of these, even this one is extremely important. It's critical that you understand at least the basics of professional and office etiquette. It's not only the way you behave and speak, but also the way you introduce yourself, dress up accordingly, according to your audience or according to where you are going to be, or follow the policies of a company, or even basic eating etiquettes. They all are extremely important. For example, eye contact is considered important in the Western world, like looking away when you're talking to a person, or looking at your phone, which is one of the biggest distractions all of us have today, or even looking at your watch during a personal or a professional conversation is considered impolite and rude. Now, courtesy is when you use polite words like please and thank you with everyone. So I would say at the end that it's a challenging time to be entering the workforce for the first time. Now, you've been in school and college and university, and after that, suddenly it's a big step when you're moving to a job, and it's definitely challenging. And it's even more challenging in times like this that we are facing right now. The traditional path of, getting a college education or learning a skill, then taking a job and remaining in it for the entire career, it's kind of obsolete. None of us do that. You take a job, you learn those skills, you enhance the skills that you already have, then you move forward, you move to another one, and then you see another step up, maybe in the next job that you are being offered, you move. So all this becomes challenging rather than, just taking one job and retiring from the same job, which doesn't happen anymore in the new world. However, luckily, these skills, if you acquire, they can really help you. But first step has to be self-awareness. You won't know how to improve soft skills in a workplace, whichever workplace that you start, unless you know which soft skills you need to improve on. So first you need to realize that what do I need to work on, and then you start working on acquiring those skills. I would say experience and practice are the only two ways which will really take you ahead. So therefore, in summary of these, some of the important soft skills that I feel especially an immigrant or anyone who's getting into the job industry would need. I would say mastery of these skills could well put you on the path of success, both professionally and personally as well. The World Economic Forum, the Future of Job report, suggested that by 2020, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, and emotional intelligence would be among the most important skills required in the workplace. And it has become a reality in the Western world for sure. Organization and we ourselves seem to be convinced that we know how to behave. We think that it's just about getting a job, and once we're on the job, we know how to behave, what are the right skills that we need to show and behave with others, or the kind of work that we will do. You definitely have those hard skills, but taking initiative, communicating effectively, and listening, those are the things which we think we possess and have, but unfortunately that's not the case. I have a short video that I would like to share, but I'll have to check with Asha ma'am in case I can play that, or should I just skip it? Asha ma'am?
You should skip it because
Okay.
you will not be able to play because some of the participants are having the problem of internet connection.
Okay, perfect.
I think we can provide the link to the participants.
Sure. No problem. Okay. So then I'll be moving to my next slide. So when new immigrants move to countries like England, Australia, US, Canada, etc., they benefit immensely from acquiring soft skills, as these countries, these contribute to breaking away the communication barriers, and this helps the immigrants blend in smoothly, both socially and in the workplace. Now, I would really like to share with you that during my experience as the ESL instructor here in Vancouver now, I have realized that most of our students in ILAC who are from China, Japan, Brazil, Russia, Turkey, and many more countries, they start from basic or beginner's level when they come here to Canada to learn English, because they've never really learned English in their schools. But an advantage we Indians have is that we all, at one stage or another, learn English in our schools. But when immigrants, the same immigrants from countries like India, move to various English-speaking countries, they cannot match up to the language skills with those of the natives. And the lack of soft skills adds to their woes. So as a result, when they move to these countries, they feel extremely out of place. And as a remedy, they create, a little world of their own in their own communities versus mingling with the natives. It's like, living in a mini India in England or Canada. So it deprives all these immigrants of all the prospects for exposure and their personal development. So lastly, I would like to share a few takeaways from this presentation for all those who plan to migrate or even those who plan to start a career in India. First and foremost, you should all work to enhance your language skills and focus on self-learning and improvement. So receiving the desired or the needed band in IELTS would help you land here, no doubt. But be ready to face the real world after that. And the preparation needs to start while you are in India and continue when you are here. And if you want to enter the professional world, then that learning and the language training has to be constant. It's a must. Attend language classes in your hometown, take online and offline courses, and practice. You cannot become fluent or talk like natives one fine day, but you have to start practicing English regularly. This would be the beginning of your self-improvement and getting ready for the next step. I would say ideation and innovative thinking. So you have to train yourself to have an innovative mindset to solve problems and challenges which are not restricted by geographies only. That, okay, I know how to solve problems and face challenges while I'm in India or Punjab, but I don't know how am I going to do it when I go to a different country. So the innovative, out-of-the-box thinking has to be more. It has to develop in you. Familiarity with the demography. Prepare for the new life. If you're planning to move to a new country, prepare for it. Do your in-depth research beforehand. I know we are all excited when we are making that move, but in that excitement, do not forget the homework that is very important for you to do. Okay? Don't be taken aback by surprises when you move to a different country, but be ready for it. Open mind and flexible attitude. Needed everywhere, not just when you move out. So you have to train your mind to be more open and less skeptical. Oh, I don't think so, I want to do that. I don't think so, I want to talk to people who I don't know. Those are the things that you will have to give up when you move to these countries. People here do not have inhibitions. They are not worried. One good thing that I have seen here, no social pressure. No one is concerned about how you look, what you are doing, how you manage yourself. Everyone is just busy making their life better than the previous day. So I've always said this, and this is out of my personal experience, that there has to be a huge unlearning before the real learning starts. So first you have to clean the board before you start writing the new things. So I would say take online courses. You can teach yourself practically anything online today, and then get feedback. That's very important. One of the best ways to achieve these skills is to gain awareness of personal strengths and weaknesses. Ask for feedback, observe and listen to those who have an exemplary rapport with others, and practice the skills in all the relationships. The reliance on communication is more critical and imperative in the current pandemic situation. So communication has become one of the most imperative things. I mean, a perfect example would be this webinar that is spread across hundreds of participants from a remote setting. Just something to take away, stressing on the significance and reliance on communication in these unprecedented times. So, with this, brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you all for attending, and I hope the insights would be helpful for those entering the new phases of their life. Please feel free to contact me. My email is up here, info@alliancelearningacademy.com. Alliance Learning Academy is the institute I run, where I train students for IELTS and CELTIP, which is another exam like IELTS, which is for Canada specifically. And I also help them build their ESL skills from basic to advanced level. And you can have your questions ready, and you can ask those when we meet for our next session. Thank you all, and I will see you in the next session then.